Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're completely dismantling a massive, very stubborn myth. We are tearing down the idea that building wealth is exclusively a young person's game. Look, if you are over 50, you haven't missed the boat, not even close. In fact, the research in our source material suggests you're actually standing on the precipice of a massive opportunity. We're going to dive into some fascinating financial data and real-world examples to show you exactly how people who started quote-unquote late managed to finish incredibly strong. Let's get into it.
So our source material breaks this whole framework down into 5 actionable themes. Number 1, the late start advantage. 2, stopping the financial bleeding. 3, maximizing your earning power. 4, protecting your wealth mindset. And finally, number 5, the true purpose of wealth. To really ground this, let's start with the story of a guy named Robert. Picture this, a 54-year-old man sitting across the desk, hands flat on the table, looking literally like a guy who had already written a tragic ending to his own story. He just came right out and said what so many people silently feel. Charlie, I think I missed my window. I have $67,000 saved, my retirement is 11 years away. You know, he had spent his 30s raising kids, his 40s paying for their education, and now he had this heavy emotional weight of only having 67 grand to his name. He felt like it was totally too late. He had basically made peace with losing. But here is the kicker. The data shows he absolutely hadn't missed his window. He'd just been playing the wrong game.
You see, society sells us this devastating lie. It's designed to keep us passive, right? To keep us accepting, and frankly, to keep us buying whatever financial product is being pitched to someone who thinks their best years are totally behind them. But what the research points out, and this is a real game changer, is that after 50, you actually have a massive edge. You have pattern recognition, you've got way more clarity and way fewer illusions. The reality is, your deep life experience means you've already paid the heavy tuition on expensive mistakes. You already know which relationships drain you and which shiny, too-good-to-be-true investments are actually just hidden traps.
Which brings us perfectly to Section 1, the late start advantage, transforming experience into your ultimate asset. This is all about flipping the script and reframing your age from a perceived weakness into literally the most valuable asset in the room.
The source material highlights this mind-blowing concept called the compression window, 15 years. That's it. It's not magic, it's just the shocking reality of compound math. If a person starts at age 52 and invests $1,500 a month in a diversified index returning 9% annually, they hit $1 million in exactly 15 years. Honestly, wealth compounding is a lot like building a skyscraper. For a super long time, it's just dirt and digging and concrete foundations, completely invisible to everyone walking by. Then out of nowhere, the floors go up. The visible acceleration happens in that final third. But listen, this means the decisions you make in the next 3 to 4 years carry disproportionate, exponential weight. You absolutely cannot afford to wait.
Okay, moving right along to Section 2, stopping the financial bleeding. Defense comes before growth. Because before we even start talking about chasing new income, we have got to stabilize your current cost structure.
The data shows people constantly make this one unbelievably expensive mistake. They'll invest $800 a month in a market returning, say, 9%, while at the exact same time they're carrying $30,000 in credit card debt at 24%. Guys, that's not investing. That's financial deterioration cleverly disguised as investing. It's literally like trying to faithfully fill up a barrel with water while completely ignoring a massive 24% sized hole in the bottom of it. The solution from the sources is ruthless but clear. Step 1, make a precise to-the-penny list of every single debt. Step 2, target the absolute highest interest rate. And Step 3, eliminate it aggressively before you invest another dime. Close the hole in the barrel first.
Once those obvious holes are patched up, it is time for what they call expense surgery. Take this guy David, for example, earning $96,000 a year, but somehow he was only saving $4,200. Well, he sat down, reviewed 12 months of statements, and just brutally cut out automated subscriptions from past versions of himself, like that streaming service he probably hadn't even logged into since 2019. He instantly found $1,840 a month. He jumped his savings to $26,000 a year without changing his income one bit. Crazy, right? And hey, critically, we cannot ignore the health capital equation. Poor health is an incredibly expensive liability that forces you to liquidate assets at the worst possible times. Look at Thomas. He built his wealth super carefully, but ignored all his physical warning signs. A sudden cardiac event cost him $190,000 and 2 whole years of productivity. You've got to treat your physical maintenance as your highest financial priority.
All right, time to go on the offensive. Section 3, maximizing your earning power. Selling your expertise at a premium. Let's unpack how to properly value and, more importantly, monetize that deep industry knowledge you've spent decades building.
There is a massive fundamental difference between selling your skills wholesale versus independent consulting. Most people over 50 have spent decades building incredible expertise, right? But they sell it wholesale to a single employer, mostly for the employer's convenience, and that severely caps earning potential. The market actually pays a premium based on how difficult you are to replace. Remember Robert from the beginning of our explainer? He had 22 years of logistics experience. He finally stopped selling it wholesale and started packaging it as an independent consultant to multiple clients. The result? He replaced his previous salary in just 18 months, worked fewer hours, and funneled all that freed up capital straight into his compounding window.
It really comes down to this. You can either run on the hamster wheel, where your income stops the literal second your feet stop moving, or you can cross what's called the income diversification line. You want to be the person in the hammock. There are basically two financial lives, one where you trade your time for money and one where your income produces itself. Crossing this line, whether it's through 3 simple dividend funds, a single rental property, or a small digital asset, is what separates the people who reach the $1 million mark from those who just don't. The sheer amount of the income doesn't even matter nearly as much as the structure. You need income that isn't tethered to your physical presence, so it can scale effortlessly while you're fast asleep.
Okay, Section 4, protecting your wealth mindset, defending your progress from emotional friction. Let's talk about the psychological safeguards you absolutely must put in place so you don't accidentally blow up your own hard-earned success.
The sources point to this truly fascinating concept called the protected decision zone. Get this. The greatest threat to your wealth isn't a market crash. It's actually the quality of your decisions in the 6 to 12 months right after a major emotional trauma. Think a job loss, a divorce, a heavy health diagnosis. These intense events completely short-circuit your decision-making machinery. So you have to enforce a strict freeze. From month 1 to month 6, the golden rule is to make absolutely zero irreversible financial decisions. No lump sum investments, definitely no liquidating retirement accounts. You literally just wait until month 12, when your rational mind actually returns to a normal functional operating temperature.
Next up, you've got to do a social environment audit. Look at James here. He's suffering from totally unconscious lifestyle inflation because his friend group measures success by, expensive vacations, luxury cars, and fancy dinners. He just passively participates and his savings completely evaporate. But then you have Michael. Michael subtly changed his whole social environment. He started adding relationships with people who were quietly building wealth, the kind of people who are reading annual reports on a Saturday instead of competing over who bought the newest, flashiest gadget. The reality is, the 5 people you spend the most time with are either actively accelerating your compounding or they are quietly bankrupting you.
This naturally leads us into the simplicity premium. Listen, more accounts and more complexity do not equal more wealth. They just equal more friction. I absolutely love the story from the research about Martin. He's 53 and he had this incredibly convoluted portfolio spread across 9 different platforms. 9! It took him 8 hours a month just to manage it all. And the irony? It was actually underperforming a basic index fund. So he consolidated everything down to 2 platforms in a single afternoon. His stress instantly vanished, and his returns actually went up. Lean into simplicity, folks. The simplest strategy that you will actually stick to for 2 decades is always going to beat some complex, quote-unquote, optimal strategy that you abandon the second life gets busy.
And finally, we arrive at Section 5, the true purpose of wealth, shifting focus to the final scoreboard. This is where we pivot from the cold, hard math of accumulation to the actual human reality of what all this money is really meant to achieve.
Look, before you can arrive somewhere, you need a destination. You simply cannot navigate a ship to a vague, fuzzy feeling like security or stability. If you try, the horizon is just going to keep moving away from you every time you get close. You have to define what the research calls your written number. You calculate the exact, specific monthly income you need from your investments to stop working without fear. Write it down on a physical piece of paper. Tape it to your bathroom mirror. Making the goal finite and tangible is what allows you to actually recognize and celebrate when you finally cross the finish line.
Let's bring it all back to our friend Robert. After sitting in that chair, feeling utterly defeated at 54, he deployed these exact disciplines. By age 65, he reached his written destination, $1.1 million. And you know what? He called on his birthday not to brag about the math or the compounding interest, but to say that for the very first time in 20 years, he wasn't afraid. He proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that a late start is absolutely not a death sentence if you just approach it with the right framework.
Because here's the ultimate optimization. The real product was never the cash itself. It was the unmortgaged time that the money bought back. It was having the time to sit down and give his daughter financial advice. Time to genuinely show up for the people he loved, operating from a powerful position of strength rather than just a state of chronic exhaustion. Trust me, when you're 80 years old, you're not going to care about interest rates or index funds. You're just going to care if the people who mattered to you actually knew they mattered.
So, the clock is running, but your ending is not yet written. You don't need anyone's permission to start, and you definitely don't need to be perfectly set up or have all the answers right this second. You just need to stop waiting. So I'll leave you with this. What is the single exact choice you're going to make today